Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Shevchuk again, and today we're going to take a look at another type of angles. Today we'll be studying complementary and supplementary angles. So far you've already looked at acute, obtuse, right, and straight angles, and those are names that we give angles when you just have one all by itself. But when you have two angles together, they can get even more specific with the naming. So that's the focus of this video today. Alright, the two that we're focusing on are complementary angles and supplementary angles. Alright, make sure you get these copied down in your notes as we go, as you'll need these later on. Okay, so complementary angles. These are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So if you look at the example here, if this angle in red was 30 degrees, we could find the measure of the green angle by knowing that these are complementary. So 90 minus 30 would be 60 degrees. So if this was a 30 and a 60 degree angle, they add up to 90, so they're complementary. The other type that we'll study today are supplementary angles. Supplementary are when we have two angles that together add up to 180 degrees. So if this was, say, 120 degrees, if the red angle was, then we could find the green angle by taking 180 minus 120, and you would get 60 degrees. Now, sometimes people confuse complementary and supplementary angles, and I like to kind of show some tricks that have helped students in the past keep them straight. Pick any that work for you to use. If they don't make sense and it makes it harder, don't use them. Okay, complementary angles. I like to think of them as, okay, so they form kind of a corner, and you think of a corner starts with C, just like complementary does. Complementary and corner both start with C. And then you can also think supplementary. Well, together they form a straight line, right? They form 180 degrees. And so supplementary and straight line kind of start together with an S. Just don't confuse supplementary with straight angles, because those are two different things. Okay, but supplementary angles form a straight line, so that's 180 degrees. Complementary form a corner, that's 90 degrees. Another one that a student taught me last year, a couple years ago, was a way to remember complementary angles. And you might know the word complement. Like a friend pays you a compliment. And they said, well, my friends give me compliments, and they're always right. And so you kind of play with the word complement and the right angle, and maybe that's a way that would help you remember complementary angles. Whatever method you choose, just make sure that you can tell the difference between them. Complementary add up to 90, and supplementary add up to 180. So now let's use that information to do a couple examples. This problem reads, one angle measures 40 degrees. And don't ever use that symbol like I did. I just can't get the degree sign on here, so just use the circle like always. One angle measures 40 degrees. What does the supplement angle equal? Well, supplement angles I know have to add up to 180 degrees. So I can find my missing angle x here by doing 180 minus 40, and I see that x equals 140 degrees. And together they add up to 180. My next example below here says one angle measures 12 degrees. What does the complement angle equal? Well, I know complementary angles have to have a sum of 90 degrees. So if I take 90 minus 12, I'm going to get 78 degrees. So this missing angle has to be 78 degrees. Sometimes it's going to get a little bit more complicated, where we'll start putting some variables in the mix. Let's see how to solve it. So it says these angles are supplementary. That's super important for me to know, because that tells me that the sum of those two angles is 180 degrees, right? So I can use that to find the measure of x. And so I know when I add this angle to this angle, they're going to add up to 180 degrees. So I can write an equation. and I say 16 plus this angle here, which we're going to call 2x plus 4, has to be 180 degrees, so equals 180 degrees. Now I'll go ahead and combine like terms. I see I have 16 plus 4, so that's 20, and then I just bring down this plus 2x equals 180, and now I'm taking 20 off of both sides to isolate my variable, and I have 2x equals 160. And to get x by itself, I divide by 2. I'm going to move it up here. I see that x equals 80 degrees. Now we can check to make sure that our answer works by plugging it back in, adding them up, and making sure it equals 180. So if I have 2 times x, I actually have 2 times 80 plus 4. So I have 160 plus 4, or 164. So this would be 164 degrees. And if I add 164 plus 16, it will equal 180, so I know my answer is correct. I just need to make sure that I box it so it stands out. Let's try a final example. These angles are complementary. Find the measure of x. Well, I know that complementary means they have a sum of 90 degrees. Okay, so when I add them up, I get 90 degrees. So I can write an equation to figure out what x is. So I see that this angle here, 2x plus 3x, has to equal 90 degrees. So I'm going to write my equation. Okay. Now it's as simple as combining terms. I have 2x plus 3x. Well, that's 5x. 5x equals 90. So when I divide both sides by 5, I get x equals, let me just make sure here, 18. And we always put a degree symbol on our answer. And again, you could check it off to the side here just by doing 2 times 18 and 3 times 18, adding them together, and make sure that they add up to 90 degrees. And I see that they do in fact add up, so my answer checks. So let's wrap up what you learned. Complementary angles, can you tell me what they are? Those are 2 angles that add up to 90 degrees. All right, how about supplementary? Do you remember what those are? 2 angles that add up to 180 degrees. And remember, the tricks that can help you are complementary, think that they form a corner, and supplementary, they form a straight line, and straight lines are 180 degrees. Okay? See me if you have questions, otherwise go on to the next item in the folder. Thanks for watching.